Hello my dear friends, and welcome back to another Star Wars news update. I hope you're having an amazing day, and in this video, we have so much to discuss. There are a bunch of updates and more drama for the Rey movie, but first, Skeleton Crew Season 2. I want it, I know plenty of you guys want it, and today we have a promising tidbit. This comes from a good friend of the channel on our Discord. It appears as though Lucasfilm is seriously considering a Season 2. And they're surveying various fans and also a couple of actors, asking what they want to see from a second season, even going as far as asking them if they want cameos from other Star Wars shows. They are gauging interest in a Skeleton Crew Season 2 and asked, what would you like to see, and what known characters from other shows and films you would like to see cross over to the show. This is certainly an interesting turn of events, because despite low viewership, it's similar to an Andor situation. Those who did watch this series really vibed with it, the reviews were excellent. So I interpret this survey to be a very good sign, although I have to say, the cameo question is very strange. If they do more seasons of Skeleton Crew, similar to The Mandalorian second season, at some stage you do have to have some crossover. But the story of the first season was strong enough on its own. Crossovers work if they serve the overall plot, but they should never be forced. But now my dear friends, we're going to talk about the Rey movie. Here we go. Take a deep breath, grab a refreshment. This is pretty big. So I wasn't originally going to talk about this. I spoke about the other big sequel update in yesterday's video surrounding the Kylo Ren comic. But since I've been covering pretty much all of the Rey news up until this point, we might as well talk about the new developments. And the reason I was originally a little bit apprehensive is because I much prefer talking about Star Wars I love. Things I'm excited about. The amount of time since 2023 there has been an update of another Rey movie delay. It just comes to a point where it's so monotonous, so repetitive, there is nothing new, nothing invigorating. But in this case, it is a pretty significant update, so let's talk about it. And just one more disclaimer, every time I speak about this Rey subject, people try to put me in a box. Despite not being a sequel trilogy fan, the last time I spoke about this I said, Daisy deserves a good script. Even though I'm not a fan of the character of Rey, if Lucasfilm is going to double down on her, we may as well get something good. And I got a bunch of people saying I'm defending Disney, I'm defending the sequel trilogy. I'm not. I'm just a Star Wars fan who wants good Star Wars content, and I always hope for the best, and I stand by my opinions. I'm always going to be honest with you guys, so let's get straight into this. What is today's big headline? Steven Knight is no longer working on the Rey movie, and now they've enlisted a different writer yet again. So no more Damon Lindelof, no more Steven Knight, and now we have the writer behind Ocean's 12, a certain George Nolfi. I would say it's an unexpected turn of events, but at this stage, is anyone truly surprised? It's almost become a joke, the amount of issues this movie is facing. And while you might say, well, Lucasfilm is just taking their time, they're just ensuring they get things right. The amount of creative challenges the movie has faced, the amount of drafts, writers, scripts that have been rejected by Kathleen Kennedy is becoming comedic. And through all of the firings, Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy is still meant to be directing. Moreover, The Hollywood Reporter seems to confirm the movie is titled New Jedi Order. I don't know if they're using this title as a placeholder, we don't know how set in stone it is, but this is the first time they're using it, instead of Untitled Rey Movie. And they say this, the new hiring signals continued faith in the project, so it doesn't seem to be scrapped, but we shouldn't expect the movie anytime soon. And the next one to go into production after The Mandalorian and Grogu is the Sean Levy movie, starring Ryan Gosling. But word on the street is Daisy Ridley is starring in that movie first, so there might be something of a trilogy that is starting to shape up. One that is separate to the Simon Kinberg trilogy, and yes, we have a lot of Rey contents coming down the line. But I'm not seeing much hype. I don't think this is the kind of movie Star Wars fans want. There isn't much faith in it. Damon Lindelof and Justin Britt Gibson were the original writers on the project, working on it before Obaid-Chinoy was brought on. By the time the movie was announced at Star Wars Celebration, Steven Knight was the one helming the script. In October of 2024, he left, after several issues and creative differences. And I have to say, my dear friends, I think he was the most talented writer on the project. But now guys, maybe third time's a charm. George Nolfi is writing it. If you look at his IMDb page, he's got a similar style to Stephen Knight, helming a lot of dramas, serious thrillers, so maybe some of the ideas are going to remain the same. Maybe Nolfi is going to build upon Stephen Knight's draft. And it just got me thinking, as someone who was at Star Wars Celebration, it's such a shame they kind of baited us. I feel bad for Daisy. She was brought on stage, we were made to feel like there's a definitive plan in place for the movie, and take a look at all of the problems the film has faced since. What's ironic is that the first movie after The Mandalorian and Grogu is none of the ones announced on that stage. When news like this emerges, it is so hard to be positive. Because is this going to be another Rian Johnson trilogy situation? Is this a movie they keep promising, keep telling us about, keep changing the writers, and then by the time you know it, it's 2028 and there is still no script? The franchise is in such a weird position because, while I think it's imperative Star Wars has a good movie victory, to me, the slate of TV shows is way more exciting. The Mandalorian and Grogu leaks seem very peculiar. There is of course James Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi, but the majority of the films center around or feature Rey, and that doesn't seem to invigorate the fandom. It just reminds fans of the sequel trilogy. Do I believe they can give us a good story with Rey? I mean, yeah, maybe, but is it exciting? Is it the movie that really sends us rushing to the cinema? Maybe for some fans, but speaking for myself and what I've seen in Star Wars Spaces, the answer is no. There are more fans talking about Andor Season 2, Ahsoka Season 2, the next Tales of series, but the sequel stuff just doesn't seem to get fans all excited, hyped and ready for the next era of Star Wars. And why are they going 15 years after the Rise of Skywalker? If you want to go into the future, do the far future, do 50, 100, 200 years. Give Star Wars fans a fresh set of characters, and just like Andor, go in a different direction. A different narrative focus with a different formula. A new and fresh angle on Star Wars. We live in a time of endless sequels, lack of originality in Hollywood, and Disney Star Wars has shown us what it can do, its best and its worst. I would say it's really a flip of a coin, the way the Rey movie turns out, and the way it's going, it really is going to be 15 years after the Rise of Skywalker, not just in the Star Wars timeline, but in the real world as well. Sequel trilogy fans often say, in the future, give it 10-20 years, episodes 7, 8 and 9 are going to be appreciated the way the prequels were, by a new generation. Maybe, but you do realize it's already been 10 years since episode 7, and that installment was the least egregious, but there is still very little appreciation for it. I don't know what the future holds for the Star Wars brand, but what I do know, based on the enormous decline in interest in Star Wars in the general pop culture space, I really don't think a Rey movie, let alone a Rey trilogy, is the best idea going forward. If you're trying to start afresh, trying to get fans back who may be tuned out after the sequels, the most logical thing to me aside from the TV shows is to give us a movie that does something that is the entire opposite. Clean slate, new characters, new time period, new planets. They've certainly got the budget, but I've got to be honest with you guys, I just don't understand some of the decisions that the management at Lucasfilm make. It seems so counterintuitive to growing their business, to expanding the franchise. Those are just some of my thoughts though. I know this is going to spark a lot of conversation, so share your thoughts in the comments down below. I would love to hear what you think. If you enjoyed this video guys, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, check me out on socials, and may the Force be with you, always.